Hi there, I'm Simon Austin-Beckett. This is Winston. I am a training dog behaviourist, and today we are going to be talking about how your mood matters, and how your mood and your emotions and your emotional state can directly affect the behaviour of your dogs. Now, dogs, senses, very important. Mentioned that in a previous video. I will mention it many times in future videos. But with regards to dogs, as we know, their superpower is clearly the power of their nose. And when it comes to their sight, whilst their visual acuity is different from ours, which is that we're very binocular, which is, looking at things distances like that. Dogs are very good with lateral vision. So whilst their sight is not as potent as ours, the one thing that they're very good at seeing, reading, sensing is our own moods and emotions, and how even the subtle things that we do, and sometimes the things we don't even realize we're doing when we're having a moment, you could call it. Our dogs are very attuned to that, and they are able to pick them up with their multitude of senses: sight, smell, etc., etc. Dogs. So dogs are constantly assessing and reassessing their vulnerability, as it were, in social situations. Um, a dog is an animal, as we obviously know, and the purpose of most animals, or the fundamental driver of most animals, is the ability to survive and the will to survive. Okay, and dogs are constantly assessing their environment to ensure that they are in an environment where they feel safe and they feel secure and they are happy. Um, so, in terms of how we fit into that model, you will notice that a dog will happily, joyfully approach you, the owner, when we're in a pretty good mood. And if we're in a pretty foul mood, maybe shouting, screaming expletives, they will be much more cautious. And that's if they'll even approach at all. And it's not based purely on just what they see. So obviously, when we're angry, if we're animated, if we're frustrated, we furrow our brows and we become more animated in our body language, and we probably become more hunched and things like this. As you can see, it's obviously bothering Winston immensely right now. And when we're happy, we're generally softer in our language. Our voice, even the tone of our voice, is higher. The visibility of our faces is wider. Our eyes are usually more apparent, and the dogs pick up on all of that. And they pick up on not just that, but also the energy. And I'm not a big, I'm not all about crystals and things like that. But we do give off certain sort of vibes and feelings and emotions and energies when we're in certain moods. And dogs are probably above many other pets that we have, are very good at reading those energies. Another obvious scent that the dogs use to their advantage, and think something they can use to pick up on our own emotions, is the olfactory system, which is the nose, the sense of smell. Plays a significant part in their ability to read our moods and emotions. One theory, therefore, being that actually they're able to pick up on the hormonal changes that we have when we are in an elevated sense of stress or anxiety, and the alternative, the hormones that we release when we're in a particularly positive mood or a good mood. The dogs can actually, it is believed, smell the release of the hormones through our skin and into our systems, and can pick up on those as well, which can therefore affect their behaviour. Because if we're in a good mood, our dog should be in a good mood, right? It is very important, therefore, for us as owners to be aware of how our moods are being interpreted by, and how they can affect our dogs, as it can have a pretty dramatic effect on their own temperament, and not just the way they feel, but therefore the decisions that they then make at that point in time based on what we're expected of them. So negative moods such as anger, nervousness, or fear on our part can affect your dog's ability, or will affect your dog's willingness to perform a certain action, or to do something you've asked them to do. So, as an example, let's say that you're frustrated, you're angry, you're feeling negative, you've gone out for a walk, but you've had a bad day at work, or whatever it might be, and generally when we're in a heightened state like that, things annoy us that maybe normally we would brush aside, right? So let's say that you're angry, your dog's off having fun, utilizing and enjoying some of those prey drives we talked about in the previous video. You want the dog to come back to you. Lo and behold, the dog's not interested. So what do? You're angry, you start shouting, you raise your voice, you deepen the tone of your voice, your body language becomes a lot more sort of aggressive in its stance, you may become more imposing as an object. I'm 5 foot and a bit, so not the most imposing thing that Winston's ever seen. But even to a dog, that that sort of that overbearing sense and that sort of feeling that we give off when we're in a pretty foul mood, they see it. They don't just see it; they sense it, they feel it, they show it. And then what do? We scream and shout at our dogs because we want them to come to us. So to a dog, they're thinking, why am I going to be going jogging over to this chap who's obviously having a bit of a bad one? I want to stay away from the thing that looks like it's negative. So the dog is likely to avoid us, or is more likely to come to us at more of a slow pace, is to creep, all these things. What do? We get more annoyed, we get more negative, so we start shouting and screaming. Then what do we think? We think that the dog's insubordinate, it's disobedient, we're asking it to do something, the dog is ignoring us, but actually it's the way that we're asking the dog to do something because of our own mood and emotion that is ultimately causing the dog to to turn around and say, I don't think I want a piece of that. I'm going to stay away from that for now. Another emotion that is quite potent when it comes to our dogs, and something that they sense more so than we actually believe they do, and more than we give them credit for, actually, is the emotion of worry or anxiety. Now, this is something that we as human beings, and it's obviously and quite rightly in the news a lot. Anxiety is a huge issue for many. However, when it comes to our dogs, that anxiety can have a real dramatic effect on the dog's own sense of stress and anxiety as well. They pick up on our anxieties and believe that there is a reason we are anxious, and that it may therefore be something that they too need to be anxious about. Examples of this, let's say when we're walking the dog and how this can affect the dog. Another dog's walking towards us. It's a dog maybe we personally aren't a breed we're not keen on, a German Shepherd for some that may have issues with those, or a large breed or a dark breed or whatever it might be. Or it might be a breed that we know for a fact that our dog it has had issues with in the past. What do? We have the dog on the lead. Lead is a direct connection to our dog. We become anxious, we become tense, we tense up, we feel it in our body language, our shoulders hunch. Our dogs read and are going to be picking up on all of those emotions, and all of that sort of anxiety and that worry that we have is going to be pumped down through the lead. And it really can be as subtle as a slight tightening of the grip of the lead, which puts slightly more tension through the lead, which is attached to the dogs pick up on these changes in our body language and pick up on these changes in our emotions. And what do you teach? The dog sees the dog approaching as well. Maybe something that you personally have an issue with that your dog may not. But the dog then thinks, well, hang on a minute, there's an anxiety or there's a worry that something's not right. And the only thing that has changed is the approaching dog. Therefore, there must be an issue with this animal coming towards me, or this thing coming. I need to worry as well. And then depending on what sort of dog you have, and depending on your dog's fight, flight, or freeze tendencies, and we'll touch on those in future videos, he'll do one of three things, right? He will stand his ground and possibly attack, or certainly give a verbal or whatever it might be to try and scare that thing away. He might try and run, so you're attached to the dog, dog's trying to run. There's only so many ways this can go, right? If he's not on the lead, the dog may bolt, which could be an issue, or you may get freeze, where the dog just literally stands there frozen solid. All of that could be a result of you purely just having at that moment in time an anxiety or a worry that you are trying to control in yourself, but your dog's picking up on. It's not easy. I mean, the flip side of this, it's not easy to say, so don't worry and don't panic. And, when dogs come, just be cool and just be calm and Lucy and all this and everything. It's very easy for somebody to advise that. But whilst that's not always an easy thing to do, it's very important to be aware that the way you are and the way you act and the emotions that your feelings you give off within the proximity of your dogs. Winston's currently going through some emotions right now, none of them very exciting. This feeds into your dog, and it can affect their judgment and their perception of the world to them in that moment as well. So your worry is their worry, your anger is their anxiety, your happiness is their joy. They feed it, they feel it, and they can read it. So with your dogs, give extra attention to how you are and how you're feeling around your dogs and your emotional state around your dogs, especially in situations where you need your dog or want your dog to do something. So to come to you, screaming and shouting and negative and anger is not going to work. Okay, so try and keep positive. Try and make you interesting and exciting. It's something the dog wants to come to. Screaming and shouting, come here, for God's sake, come here, is not going to work in your favor with an animal that's thinking, hang on a minute, that sounds dangerous over there. I'm gonna hold back, or I'll creep over, and hopefully we'll see an emotional change as I make my way over. On the flip side of it, joy, happy, all those emotions, the dogs feed on them. It can get you to get the dog to want to do something, and use them as a result of something positive as well. You might want the dog to come to you, but if the dog does then come to you, make it an amazing experience for that dog. Be excited, be happy, be joyful. Use your emotional state as almost like a reward for your dogs, because our dogs are very, very attuned to picking up on them. So that's it really. So as I say, your body language, very important. The way you physically manifest your emotions, the dogs can read. The way that it may be the more subtle changes. So if you're holding a lead, things like that, there's only sort of tensing the muscles, tensing the hands, tensing the leads and stuff. As subtle as it seems, your dog can pick up on those. And also just be aware that even if you're inside being chewed up by some sort of anxiety or anger or frustration, but you think outwardly you look like the picture of calm, your dog is still possibly capable of picking up on the hormonal changes in your body. So you cannot lie to your dogs with your emotions. So try and keep calm in situations where maybe that's a challenge for you. This might actually be more of a video to help owners than it would be for dogs, but just to be aware that your mood matters to your dogs. That's it. I'm going to stop now. So as I say, as before, if you would like to read about any more top tips, anything like this at all, you want to get in contact, you want to speak, obviously, as I've said before, if you like the video, let me know. If you hate it, let me know. My website is dogsgowoof.co.uk. I'm also very active on Facebook. We are Dogs Go Woof UK on Facebook. Winston's on Instagram as well. Look us up, Simon Winston. He will be awake for the next video, I hope. So thanks very much. Good time. Speak soon. Take it easy. Cheers. Bye.